Hello, my name is Fraser Simons. This is my channel, Springboard Thought. Today I'm going to be talking about some more recent reads. The first one I want to talk about was a buddy read with Shelley Swearingen. I got her hooked on the Neapolitan series, not that anyone needs to really, all they really need to get hooked on that is like a slight nudge to read the first couple pages usually, and they'll know if it's for them or not. Thankfully, it was for Shelley, and we also picked up Troubling Love as part of, I believe, her 30 books in 30 days challenge. And on the reciprocal side, I did not need much of a nudge to try something else of Ferrante either. I gave this one 4 stars. I'd say it's darker than the Neapolitan series and concerned with some of the same issues. Class disparity, the difference between how the sexes are treated. This is about a midlife woman, I believe, whose mother has died under suspicious circumstances to her. It looks like a apparent suicide, but certain things of it have unearthed and dredged up memories from her past. And so there's like a thrust of the story that is her trying to figure out if it actually was a suicide, as well as her physically moving through the mystery, unearthing the mystery of her past, which is mired in trauma. And since it's from childhood, there's like an unreliable narrator stuff going on. She's got a very tumultuous relationship with men, and it's feels almost kind of noir-esque, actually, I would say. And it feels around the same time period as Neapolitan, like, I would say after World War II or something like that, barely, or in between 1 and 2, something like that. Like, it feels like a historical piece in some ways, but it doesn't have as much focus on the neighborhood as the other Neapolitan novels. And it is, as you might guess, from the 30 Days and 30 books, is a very slim volume. It's fast moving, propulsive, I would say. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. It didn't have the oomph, I guess, that I wanted from the Neapolitan books, but it was far and away better fiction than I usually generally consume in regards to this kind of stuff. Don't go in thinking it's going to be detective fiction or even like heavily plotted towards the mystery, though it is concerned with that. It is mostly a study in a particular character. The next book was a 5-star read. This is The Prestige by Christopher Priest, which most people probably know from the Christopher Nolan film. That's how I initially encountered it, and I didn't even know it was a book until much later. Audible Plus catalog has this for free though, and I took the plunge. It was fantastic. The narration was very good. I think it had like a heavy hitter like Scott Brick or something like that. Someone like that who's always narrating the really big things and does a quite competent job. This book follows the story somewhat. It takes place further in the future, where this boy was adopted and he wants to know about his family, but then has sort of like discarded that notion later on in life until a mysterious someone asks to meet him and gives him a manuscript, which is the meat and the bones of the story, which is the only thing you encounter in the actual movie. 2 rival magicians who start a feud, although it is much more muddy and not clean and dry as in the movie, where the acts against one another, the ramifications of the first one that starts this feud is not yet quite known to the other magician, but because of the retaliations that keep ramping up, the feud develops nonetheless, and things spiral off from there. Basically, it becomes, what are they willing to sacrifice or to pay in order to one-up each other, also the black spot, I guess, that gets on them, that they can never rub away, despite their commercial success. Both of them kind of get caught up in this game of vengeance, and yeah, it's just a sort of one-upmanship, but then also living with a secret that enables them to be the type of magician that they want at the cost of their own humanity. That's a really great story. It's quite different than the movie. So if you think that you've seen it all already, I definitely would push you to read the book already. I've only seen like one review who was like disappointed with the book via coming there from the movie, but I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The ending is a little bit more out there than I guess I would have expected. However, all of it worked for me. The prose was fantastic. The character work is much better than in a movie, of course. Everything about it is great. The movie is playing to its own strengths with its adaptation, and the book is doing its own thing. Absolutely recommend it. Great stuff. A book that I expected to like, but didn't like as much as I wanted to, was My Policeman by Bethan Roberts. This I gave 3 stars. It was kind of like fine for what it is. It's a love triangle between 2 gay men and, well, a gay man, a questioning man, and then the police officer, the policeman, as he is constantly, incessantly, annoyingly referred to as in the journal of the male counterpart. That is like a perspective that you get is so annoying when you're consuming it, because he always says my policeman as much as he can, like a billion times. Anyway, the policeman is somebody who has to decide between like having this front, because he is, especially in the police force, around homophobia and around homophobic people. He decides to have like this front life between he and a woman, and so there's this love triangle, but not really. Like, he's trying to play both sides, have it both ways, and it turns into like a courtroom drama type thing at one point. But the problem that I had with it is it's narrated from each of these perspectives, the lovers of each policeman, but it's very predictable, and it reiterates and underlines the exact same things all the time, which is just something that gets very grating. Like, it's this thing happened from my perspective, and this thing happened from my perspective. And yes, we get them at different times, not back to back, which is nice, but it's still a very short amount of time to be retreading on such a short book, I feel. And I knew exactly how it would play out regardless. So there wasn't any tension that was keeping me there, although I remember that the audiobook was well narrated. So yeah, it was just fine. And I think I got turned on to that from a few people on Booktube, but also there's the show coming out, which I've seen reviewed to be mediocre as well. So probably not a thing for me. The next book is The Black Dahlia, the first book in the classic LA Quartet crime series by James Ellroy. I was gonna haul my Everyman edition down here, the bind up of all 4, but it seemed rather pointless. I thought this was quite great. I gave it 4 stars. It's quite predictable. I had seen the movie in like my teenage years or whenever that dropped, and I thought it was better than what most people ascribed it, although some of the performances in the movie are a little bit lacking. The book, you can it almost feels like a debut from Ellroy. He's finding his voice, and so it is kind of uneven in it, but there's this like new quality and singular quality to his prose, his cadence, and to the deep-seated sort of longing and destruction of self that these people inhabit, the police officers, in order to solve crimes is just really propulsive and something I like in all noir. And so having that little nugget propel it along really helps. But then also the fact that he is outright critiquing absolutely every stratification of authority in it, including the main characters, like the cops, what they do. There's no nice people in this. It feels very LA, or what I imagine LA to be, or the mythos of LA as codified on film. It's deep, seedy, predatory towards women. Everyone is trying to play an angle, and getting your angle is at the cost of, some of your humanity or some kind of compromise or a trade-off or whatever, until you no longer resemble the self that you had. And so what does winning even look like in those circumstances? But then, of course, it's also playing with the real life true crime of this event. And we have the true crime sort of bleed into Ellroy's own fascination with his mother, who ostensibly was killed as well, and is like something he is deeply obsessed with, and I think ingrains into the main character very well, like this sort of desperate clawing at any sort of truth, no matter the cost. But then also like an inability to care, I guess, about oneself until the resolution of a specific thing is very like male, masculine, and like, yeah, it's just. And also the ending was surprising and more interesting than I expected, but seems to be incredibly polarizing. Some people are either super into that ending or didn't think that it played well at all. I thought it was pretty perfect though. I already had started The Big Nowhere afterwards, and I think that will be even better, because in the first few pages even, the voice has been significantly refined. The prose work is just like 150% better, and I thought the prose work in this one was completely competent and interesting anyway. So I'm very much looking forward to the continuation of that. White Trash Warlock, I gave this 4 stars. This is Adam Binder #1 by David R. Slayton. I listened to this on audiobook as well. Audio plus catalog for free. This will be quick because I don't have too much to say about it. I did give it 4 stars, but it's like 3.5 rounded up. It's, think, queer young man, Dresden Files, where he's, not got much power, but he's queer. He's like got some interesting powers, but he's definitely like not a heavy hitter at all. And there's a huge problem that needs solving. And then the subplot is a male-male romance. I thought those aspects were just fine, and it's young adult, I believe, as well. It's fine, but the best parts of it is the representation and inclusiveness that it has, and not the actual plot or I would say the world building. Like, I'm not sure the magic made too much sense, or I could picture this world very well, but the 2 characters themselves are sort of why you come to the party, and I think that is done quite well. I won't continue on with the next one, even though I think it's a part of the Plus catalog, just because I was much more invested in this sort of like interesting notion about white trash and Warlock and like magic, and if those 2 things were going to be more predominant and thought out world building, but they weren't. So, and that's about it. That is my week in reading. As always, feel free to comment and interact with me however you like, and I will see you next video. Bye.